Welcome to the Ausländer. So, welcome to another episode of the Ausländer. Today I have here with me Charlotte, originally from France, close to Paris.
Yes.
She has lived in multiple places actually. So you are originally from France, but you've been in Mexico, Italy, and currently in Athens. So finally having someone here in Athens, in Greece, for a live episode and not recording through Zoom and interfaces digitally.
That's nice, I guess. I mean, have you done most of your episodes only through Zoom?
Lately, yes. I mean, the last 5 episodes has been recorded remotely because of people who recorded from UK, from Switzerland, from other places. So was a little bit less in person. Yeah. But it's really nice to be able to grab a drink finally with someone.
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't know if I said properly the order of the countries that you were from France to Mexico, then to Italy, and then to Greece.
Yes, actually Greece was the first country because my background is that I've studied tourism and hospitality. And the second year of the bachelor, we had to do an internship abroad, and I went to Crete for 4 months. Okay. So I mean, it was, just for 4 months, just for a season, but it counts as like the first country, I've lived in. And this is actually when I fell in love with Greece, by the way. And then I finished my bachelor degree the year after, moved to Mexico, to Cancun. One of the first reasons was that, I wanted to start working already. I didn't want to do my master's right away, even if my parents were like, no, you have to do your master right away. But I was like, no, I think I'm going to work for a bit. And then, so I got there, and I also wanted to improve my Spanish. And I've lived for a year and a half in Cancun, working in 2 different big resorts.
Nice.
It was a very interesting experience. And then straight to Italy, close to Milan. This is when I did my master's degree in tourism. It was in 1 year, so 6 months courses and then 6 months internship that I did in the event industry. It was quite interesting, allowed me also to travel in Italy, like we were doing congresses around Italy. And then back to France, working mostly seasonally. And then Greece for the past 3 years. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, it's kind of a big round, to be honest. Like, I suppose Mexico, it's the most breaking point in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't do a master either. I was also one of these who finished university, and I think I was also kind of tired of studying. So I just decided to go, and I didn't do a master at the end, so I'm already working for 6 years on my field, and I didn't do a master. So I can understand, but why Mexico? So why this big step? So I mean, normally you say, okay, I don't want to do a master, and then I go to Spain or to Portugal or to whatever close by and just do it there. But Mexico.
Actually, that's kind of personal, but there was some, like family troubles and things, and I think like my point was just to get as far as I could, and I wanted a Spanish-speaking country because like from very young I was always like really impressed, with people that speak many languages, and it's been something very important in my life to learn languages, and because I had taken Spanish in school, I wanted to start from there. And you know how you learn languages at school, like there's a limit to it. And I guess that you can really, really speak well a language if you speak in a country where it's where it's the official language. Mexico, why not? I ended up there, and I know that, tourism and hospitality was really, really big there. And it was going to be very easy for me to find a job, which was because I did find a job after a week. Okay. But then I had a problem with the visa, so I stayed 4 months in Mexico without working, But I can tell you I had a very, very good time because, I mean, before that, I was working for 6 months in a cafe in Paris just to put some money on the side. So I was able, to enjoy, Cancun for 4 months. And then I ended up being able finally to start working. I guess my thing was that after Greece, I understood that I really wanted to travel. And my point was like, okay, I want to get as far as I can.
Well, actually, with your short time in Greece first, you were already out of home. So that's normally the biggest step. Once you've been already outside, switching from country, it's normally a little bit better if you don't get homesick, which a lot of people does.
Yeah.
But Mexico, it's a big deal. It's far away. So, you were in Yucatan, and that's the perfect area for a hostel, for the whole hospitality surrounding the industry. Yeah. There is a lot of resorts, there is a lot of hotels, there is a lot of going on in Cancun, especially because as the center of Yucatan, where you move around from there.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you already said visa problems as the first thing. Do you remember anything? I don't really want to go super deep into Mexico and Italy. I suppose a little bit later we will jump to Greece as we are here right now, and then we will go in detail there.
Yeah.
But do you have any experience or crazy story that you remember from Mexico?
I guess the best memory I have was swimming with whale sharks. That was amazing. They get there to the Caribbean Sea in the summer when it's really, really, really hot. It was really, really nice. And then I remember Mexican people being amazing. And then Cancun, we met a lot of people, not only from Mexico, also from, there were a lot of people from Argentina. A lot of French and Italian people, a lot of Italian people in Playa del Carmen. So it's really, really nice. There, I kind of really like the culture, but I would say my biggest problem is that I do not like spicy food. So when you're in Mexico, it's okay, I cannot avoid it. And when you ask no picante, not spicy, it's always spicy. So it was a bit hard for me in terms of the gastronomy, I would say. Other than that, I don't know. I would say that it was very nice because it's always summer there, but at some point I got to miss the seasons, even if it sounds maybe crazy. But for example, I love skiing, which obviously I didn't go to Mexico for that, but I like to feel the seasons. And after a while I started really quickly to feel that it was not home for me. Not that I wanted to move there to stay for my life. I was 22 years old. I knew it was going to be just an experience. And I ended up staying 1.5 years, which I didn't think so from the beginning. But yeah, it was a very good experience.
Yeah, sounds lovely. Actually, I would definitely love to do at some point of my life some 1.5 2 years, I know, maximum 3 years outside of Europe before going probably back to Barcelona at some point. So you said that after Mexico you went to Italy, especially for a master close to Milano.
Yeah.
So you were applying for a master from Mexico directly, or?
Okay, actually, I am going to be because we're having this nice conversation, and I think I don't want to hide anything. So at the end of Mexico, I started to have depression and anxiety. I had this problem, and so when I went to Italy at first, I wanted to really take it slow. As I told you, one of my other goals was to learn Italian, because from the beginning it's always been my favorite language. So I started with something really easygoing, which was taking Italian lessons. I went for the whole summer every morning for 4 hours. I wanted to learn Italian, really, really fast, which was kind of easy because, being French and knowing Spanish, it's just another Latin language. So it was pretty fast for me to learn Italian, and I felt very at ease with the language pretty fast. And then so I applied to the master once I was there. So my first, let's say, reason was that I wanted to come back to Europe, but I didn't want to come back to France for the reasons I already told you before. And so I was like, okay, let's take something that's close enough, because you're right, like Mexico was really far away. So when you get homesick, it's not like you can just take a plane or a train and just say, like I'm going home. So that's why I chose that place, and I've really enjoyed it. It helped me really, really fast get better. Italian people are in general really amazing, very welcoming. And so through the classes I was doing to learn Italian, I met pretty incredible people.
That's really cool.
And then during my master, I made amazing friends, all Italian. And so, I got really surprised by how fast I got better. But I think it's mostly because I didn't go back to France. I went and I had something challenging and motivating, and the curiosity of meeting new people and learning a new language. And I guess it really helped me to get better at that point. Yeah,
makes sense. Eventually, I think, especially right now after COVID, a lot of people it's passing through moments of depression and anxiety.
Yes,
it's something that I know personally also, not only because of COVID, but beforehand.
Yeah.
And I really think that when you are in this spiral mode of the depression, having a new goal and something that fulfills you, it's really, really, really a big deal.
Yeah.
So happy that was something that also afterwards it's profitable in your life.
Yes.
Like learning a new language, it's even more motivating through that. So that's really cool. Did you move directly to Milano, or?
Actually, I was living closer to the Lake of Como.
Oh, nice.
But my university was in Milano, so I was going back and forth. I'm not really a big city person, so I usually don't go in the cities, even if I know that like to socialize is not like the easiest thing. But I guess I enjoy being closer to nature in general. So Athens is actually the first city that I've been able to enjoy, and I don't know, I guess because I live now in a neighborhood that's pretty that is kind of a small village, like I'm really close to the center. I'm 4 stops with the metro to the Acropolis, but I'm feeling like I'm in a small village at the same time. So
yeah, that's cool. Eventually, for being the first city that that you are like settling down into a city, it's a pretty big city. It's just like, I don't know, talking about Cancun, it's horribly big also, but Milan, it's not that big, for example, in that sense.
No,
so you
it's not that big, but I don't know, maybe in some way it reminded me of Paris, even if it's really different. But I'm allergic to Paris, to be totally honest with you. I hate Paris. I love to go to Paris just once in a while, because obviously I have my friends over there. My family is not living close to Paris anymore, so when I'm going there, it's really just to see my family and my brother. But like, I don't know, like this city, again, brings me a lot of anxiety. I usually don't feel really safe. Obviously, I don't like, the weather or whatever. So I don't know. Yeah, that's maybe why Milan was like, okay, it's nice. I go there for my studies and whatever. But then when I finish my day, I go back to something more like a countryside and come on Lake of Como.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I was going to say.
It's one of the most magical places I've ever been, So like,
if your home is in Lake Como, yes, I fucking completely understand why you are there.
It was close to Lake of Como, but I had a car, and when you have a car and you can move around, the lakes at the north of Italy are really amazing.
North Italy, actually, it's really accessible by car. It's really accessible by train, which is something that it's always surprised a lot of people. I had a couple of guests already on the podcast who were saying, actually, like train system, which is something that we lack here in Greece, for example.
Yeah.
There is a couple of long-distance trains, whatever.
Yeah, but they take forever.
Yeah, and they are
from
connecting.
what I know, it takes forever.
Yes.
I haven't tried it. Usually, a lot of people move around with buses more than with trains.
Exactly. And Trenord really works. Like Trenord in Italy works really well.
That's what I was using. Yeah, exactly.
It's really nice, and eventually the area of the lake. So if you just jump from Garda to Sirmione to Como to all of the small lakes, even the small ones are really beautiful, and it's really nice.
So you know well the area, you too,
yes,
right?
I do.
Okay.
I've done the north of Italy quite a rather. I also speak Italian, so it's one of the other things you said, actually, when you speak two languages, Latin languages like French and Spanish, eventually Italian comes fluently. For us, Catalan, the melody of speaking, it's really, really close to Italian.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more, it's even easier for us because the melody is already there. So, yeah.
Oh, actually, funny fact, when I did these Italian classes during the summer, in the first lesson there was a girl with me that was from Venezuela, and she came to me after a few lessons and she was like, "Why do you speak Italian with a Mexican accent?" So because I was just out of Mexico, and so that was quite funny. I was like, okay, how am I gonna get out of that one? And then slowly I got closer to the Milanese accent, I would say.
Yeah, but it's quite typical. I mean, there is a lot of people who learns South American Spanish or dialects, or even like not dialects but accents from South America, from the proper languages of Argentinian or from Mexican or for whatever, and then they come to Spain and you see people who are clearly not from Mexico or from Argentina, because you can see that their lifestyle or whatever it's not the same, or they don't culturally really fit in there, and then suddenly they speak this so amazing Mexican things. And I mean, for a Spanish person or a person who speaks Spanish from Spain itself, there is words, of course, that the Argentinians use absolutely different, that the Mexicans use absolutely. I mean, that happens inside of South America itself, like between their countries. And suddenly there is someone, Catherine, my girlfriend, she just met. She speaks Spanish, but she learned Spanish also with a lot of South American people. So suddenly she mixed South American language in between the Spanish, also some Catalan in there, and it's really funny to see this. But that's, in my opinion, that's just winning. Like, it's just bringing you a new... I mean, it's a little bit like... I'm not really a fan of this kind of people who try to search for the Oxford or Cambridge
I agree.
English, for example, or the Spanish from the really academical Spanish, because let's be honest, nobody in Spain speaks academical Spanish, not even the people from Madrid, not the people from Andalusia, from Catalonia. We all have our different way of speaking. And
and it's true in every country. I mean, it's true also in Italy. When you see in Italy, like, you go from a village to another village that's 15 minutes away, and they speak a totally different dialect, and that's amazing because they are still like using it. But I agree, like, behind the language there is culture, and this is, I don't like languages just for the idea of speaking languages. I like the culture that there is behind. I like that in some languages some words exist that you cannot translate in other languages just because it's the way that they say. For example, in Greek, when you, for example, I'm gonna go shopping tomorrow, and I'm gonna buy, a pair of jeans, and I'm gonna come home and say to my friend, "Oh, I bought a pair of jeans," and this person is gonna tell me "meya," that there is absolutely no translation to that, but it's kind of congratulating you on your purchase, and mostly telling you, like, enjoy your new purchase, and. I find it amazing, and so you understand the culture behind the language, and I'm usually really, really, really curious about these things.
I mean, it's really cool, and I also like when it's coming to these special words, or really like like this, no, like nobody else is using you to congratulate, or no other language that has a specific word for that specific moment that it's telling you enjoy, and it's a positive one. It's not even a bad one, which a lot of languages has bad things with special things for every bad occasion. But in that case, it's just like telling you, hey, you buy this, wow, cool, enjoy that. And that's a single word instead of using this whole sentence.
And nobody ever told me to enjoy my purchase. And so like I enjoy it even more. Like and for Greek people, it's so normal. And so when I explain to them like, no, I cannot translate that in my own language or any other language that I know because it just doesn't exist. So it gives some kind of another kind of dimension to the language that I really, really like. Yeah. And, you know, in Mexico, it was really fun at first because, I mean, I was coming from, you know, like learning the Spanish from Spain at school. So your Spanish. Not your Spanish, sorry. Actually, no, that's not your Spanish. But so what we learn at school is like, you know, with vosotros, that is like the plural, like the formal and thing. But they don't use it, you know, in South America. They use ustedes. But that for me, ustedes meant they. And
in Spain, that will be an absolutely formal use that you only use with really old people, because in Spain we don't use formal at all in general.
Exactly.
So I mean, I understand.
So like in Spain it means they, and then in Mexico it means also you, plural. And so we get in this taxi. I was with a friend in Mexico, and ¿a dónde van ustedes? Meaning, where are they going if you speak the Spanish from Spain? But if you speak the Spanish from Mexico, it's like, where are you going? And I remember like he asked these questions, and I remember looking around like, who is he talking to? So yeah, I guess it was just another funny anecdote about languages. But I mean, we could go on about languages for hours and hours.
No, which is also a thing that happens in the podcast at the end when people has lived in so many countries, and people, I think I'm quite lucky with the guests until now. They are quite curious about languages in general. So eventually they try to learn from everywhere where they have been a little bit, and at least they have some stories about communication in that sense. I don't know. I mean, South America, it always happened with coger.
I had also that one. Yeah.
Which in Spanish, from Spain, it means grabbing something.
Yes.
And in South America, generically, in nearly all the countries in South America, means fuck.
Yeah.
And it's something that you don't want to say, and you maybe know already. You already know that, but you go to South America, you've been talking your Spanish, whatever, for so long time, and then suddenly you say, I want to grab a coffee or a taxi, and they are like, you want to do what? You want to fuck a taxi?
This taxi guy, yeah. Actually, the same happened to me. Like, I think I said like, quiero coger un taxi, and they looked at me like, what? Like, do you like this guy or whatever? And I was like, no, I just want to take a taxi to go home. Like, that's funny.
It's funny. So you spent the master there in North Italy, in Milan. A master also in hospitality.
Yeah, it's tourism and hospitality management was the name of the master. Yeah.
For how long it was?
So it was 6 months of courses and then 6 months of internship that I did in this event company that I was telling you about. And I ended up staying there. Actually, they hired me before the end of the internship. And I ended up staying there for like a year. It was nice, but you know, like at that point in my life, I really enjoyed more like the part of the congresses where you actually go somewhere and you take care of the speakers and everything, you arrange their travels and everything. But 80 to 85% of the job was actually like organizing this behind the desk with an Excel file or whatever, getting their signatures for whatever. Like it started to be a bit boring for me.
That's throwing things.
Yeah. So at that point, I was with an Italian guy, and we decided he was a very, very good cook, and we decided to open our own small company. And we went back to France in l'Île de Ré. L'Île de Ré is an island that is on the ocean, on the west side, on the Atlantic Ocean, linked by a bridge to a city called La Rochelle. And my grandparents have a house there. They passed away, and so like the house is like empty, like nothing is really happening there. And I was like, okay, so I can do two things at the same time. Like I can open a business and make the house, continue to live. Okay. And so it was something seasonal. And so the idea is that we opened this small company that was called Al Dente, Chef à Domicile, meaning that it was chef on demand. So we were going to people's houses with all the food and everything, cooking everything there okay. and serving them. And so making sure we were making any arrangements if they had a birthday or this or that. And then together with that, we were selling like really refined Italian products on the morning nice little markets that they have there on the island. Cool. So we did that for 2 seasons. And then, so this was the summer season. And then during the winter seasons, we were going in the Alps, working in hotels, for example. So in hospitality, I've mostly worked at the front desk, operation supervisor. So that's usually what I was doing. So the first season, I did it in Montgenèvre. It's actually really close to Italy. It's a small French ski resort. And then the second one, I did it in Val Thorens, which is like much bigger, part of the Three Valleys. And I was running the operations there at the hotel, at the front desk. And it was a very, very, very intense season at so many levels. But it was really nice. I felt like it was my baby because the hotel had just opened. And no, actually I did the opening. Like I set up everything for the opening. Like it was really, really interesting. It was a small hotel, 20 rooms, because I told you back in Mexico I was working like in big resorts and stuff, and really quickly understood that it was not for me. Like I preferred something like more familiar exactly. I really enjoyed that season. And then at the end of that season, I was like, okay, so what am I going to do now? Like I was a bit tired of seasons and everything. No Italian guy anymore in the picture. So I decided to go on the summer season as an entertainer. These people that they make you dance around the pool or whatever. Okay, so that's what I did for a summer in Greece, in Peloponnese, close to Olympia.
Nice. I mean, as a stand-up comedian, I do that every 2 weeks. So.
Oh, okay. So you get it.
without getting dressed and without the swimming pool part, most of the time. Equally drunk people, so
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And also taking care of the kids. Like in the morning, I had to be like this serious babysitter at the mini club, like taking care of the kids, and then at night entertaining the guests and like learning choreographies for the show. And like people maybe don't understand that, but it's so intense job. It's not well paid. I was being paid like 400 euros per month.
Okay.
Like whatever, but I didn't do it for the money at that point. I just wanted, like to do something fun until I would find out what I would do with my life.
It is funny because actually the first episode of the podcast was with my best friend, who is called Carlota, which is the Catalan name of Charlotte.
Charlotte, yeah.
And she has done that for 8 years in a club in Barcelona, doing entertaining, and it was not even a go-go thing. It was more like an entertaining party because they scenography things and whatever. So it's funny. It comes with the name, like somehow.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, it was fun, but it was intense. Like you work from 8 a.m. until midnight with 1 hour break, and it's so fucking hot. And like, anyway, so I did that for 2 months. And I met a Greek guy, and
while entertaining, or
no, he was working at the only bar that we could access on foot. Outside of the of the resorts. And then slowly, like it started becoming something, and So one thing that I didn't tell you is that after my internship in Greece, so like 10 years ago, I kind of left Greece thinking, okay, I'm gonna come back here, and my biggest dream is to open a hotel in Greece.
Okay.
A small one, obviously. And so I had the feeling that everything was coming into place. You know, like I was finally, you know, like understanding, you know, like maybe okay, now I can go towards that dream. You know, like not that I was avoiding it before, but that maybe I was not ready for that. And so 6 months after that, I decided to move to Athens because, I mean, my dream would be to open a hotel in an island. But I was like, okay, maybe start by getting to know the culture, the people, the language. Let's talk about that later. Which was not an easy one for sure, that one. And so I arrived in Greece, and finding a job in hospitality was much harder than I thought.
Really?
Yeah. I also thought it would be really easy, but after all, if you don't speak Greek, there are a lot of places that might not take you because internally you might need to speak Greek, which I get, but on the other side, like when you work in a hotel, you need to speak English. But what about the back office staff? Like you need to be able to speak with the back office staff. So I actually worked in a call center for 3 months. That was terrible. Obviously,
it's a kind of
not obviously,
kind of
but
there is a lot of expats here working in call centers.
Yeah.
Like, I know that in Spain it's also like rather normal, but we don't have. Portugal has a lot of call center also.
Yeah.
But the amount of job offers of call center that I've seen here in Greece, it's ridiculously high. I've never seen that before. Like,
and you're right. Like through the community of expats in Athens, we see a lot of people that actually work from there. So actually, I will tell you one of the reasons why I chose that is because so I came with my car from France until Athens. And these companies, when they hire you, they reimburse the travel expenses. So that was one of the reasons why I did it, but also because I needed to start somewhere, you know, and you know, I think you can never expect to just land somewhere and land the best job, like unless you're working for a foreign company, which is something different. But that was not
already coming with a job if you're moving from a company that allows you to move.
But in hospitality, it doesn't work like that. I mean,
definitely not.
I mean, you need to find a hotel that's there, and most of them are going to be, you know, like Greek companies, obviously. So I said, okay, let's do it. And I like a challenge. I think most of my life I try to not make things easy for myself, but whatever. And so like I just landed there, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna start in this call center, and I'm gonna start, you know, looking on the side. And it ended up being not that easy. So I ended up doing a season back in Peloponnese. So I went back there, and my first goal was like, okay, your problem is Greek. Okay, so you're gonna learn Greek. And so I worked in a shop, you know, just like selling stuff.
Okay.
And so to help me, you know, like with Greek at
Forcing
the end,
a little bit to talk,
and at the end of the season, obviously I was not speaking Greek. I mean, Greek takes forever. I'm here 3 years, and finally now I can say that I can speak well enough Greek, you know, to have conversations, but not in something like very particular, like politics or whatever. So you can imagine that after 6 months, I was not speaking Greek.
I know the feeling. I had the same with German, so eventually. And now it's happening again. To be honest, I feel more comfortable with Greek than with German. But I think
that's interesting. Okay.
I think it happens a lot here in Athens that I suddenly hear people, and I think they are speaking Spanish. And no, they are speaking Greek, like Spanish from Catalonia or from Valencia or from parts of Spain close by where I'm used to listen them speaking Spanish. So I suppose phonetically wise, and it happens a lot to me that the potato words that I know in Greek and I say it, and everyone is starting to speak super fast in Greek to me, like I am a fucking expert.
And totally. They do that. Yeah.
They telling me, oh, whatever. And then I said, I don't speak Greek, sorry. And they were like, oh, yeah, you were saying that 2 words so well. And I'm just like,
but
I said 2 words.
I think I know what you mean, because I've been I've been noticing also that sometimes in the pronunciation of Greek there is a lot of Spanish sounds.
Yes,
I noticed that a lot.
Yes.
So I'm not surprised by what you're telling me. For
But
sure.
and in any other country that I've been before, nobody told me, "Oh, you say hello so well."
Yeah.
I mean, nobody. I never entered the place and I say, "Hey, yasas," and someone is telling me, well, "Yasas" means hello in formal in Greek,
Greek, yeah.
and somebody is telling me, "Oh, you said that, yeah."
Yes,
Yes,
just the
that's
fact,
so-
the fact
so
that you said it
good.
well. Yeah.
And I was just like, nobody in my life said, "Hey, you said so well this hello," or
Yeah.
whatever, like it's like, wow, okay, nice, yeah, sure,
Yeah, no, that's true.
but it's I totally understand you when it comes to that. Like, it took me also like 3 years in Germany to start being able to have a conversation on non-complex topics. 3 years to understand what the people was talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't practice enough when it comes to talking. And I think Greek, it's going to be more or less the same. And from what you were saying, it is like that.
It is hard. It is hard. I mean, I don't know. I've read somewhere that it's the second most difficult language after Chinese. So, like, I mean, obviously, the alphabet is different, and like,
Really?
yeah.
Where
I've
is
read-
Arabic? Where is Russian? Like,
Apparently, Greeks come before, but I mean,
okay.
apparently Greeks come before Russian. I don't know about Arabic, but apparently Russian, and I guess all of that really depends on what's your mother tongue.
Yes.
Like maybe for you it doesn't feel like that, but maybe for me it feels like that. Like I don't know. But yeah, I agree with you. Arabic seems really hard.
Yes. Which also for us, for especially the Mediterranean coast of Spain, we have a lot of, this part of Spain was 700 years of Al-Andalus with Arabic influence directly, so we have a lot of words.
Yeah.
Even my own surname it's Arabic, so
Yeah, I
at this
guess
point of them.
we have something similar, also with French. I guess that with all the history and everything.
Yes.
So yeah. But yeah, so anyway, after that summer, I was like, okay, you're still not speaking Greek. You're trying your best, but you're still not speaking Greek.
It was the first time that happened to you? Like, eventually, like in Italy, after 6 months, you were speaking Italian and
in
Latin languages.
Yes, exactly. And in Mexico, like I told you, I was taking Spanish in school, and after 4 months, I was able really to
speak.
almost fluent. So with Greek, it became really frustrating and an obstacle. And because I knew that I could learn languages fast, I was expecting to learn Greek fast. But no, I mean, definitely. I mean, I learned it probably faster than someone that doesn't know other languages, but I am still like, okay, that was a real obstacle. But I ended up landing a job in hospitality and tourism, but it was not Greek managers. And I think this is what really helped me, is that they actually wanted people that, we had Greeks in in that hotel, but not only. It was another hotel opening, which I love. It's really interesting, to be in the behind the scenes, before it opens. Very nice boutique hotel in the center of Athens in Kolonaki. Okay. The name is Sheila. And actually the boss, the manager that opened it, the owner is actually from Israel. And so they were looking, for an international team.
Who speaks English.
Yeah, so that was actually November 2019. And so...
That's pre-COVID already.
That's pre-COVID, yeah. That's before COVID. No. Right before COVID. Yeah, March 2020 is when it started. True. Yeah. And so actually, there it comes. We were about to open and COVID struck.
Shit.
Like really, we were about to open, like 1 week before the opening. So we ended up opening after the first lockdown in June.
Which in Greece was rather long already.
The first lockdown, yeah, it was not that long. The second one was crazy. But the first lockdown finished in end of May, beginning of June. Okay. And we opened mid-June, end of June, because obviously we had to make everything, restart and make sure we were really ready to open. And so we opened for a few months, and then the second lockdown happened. Yeah. Is that okay if we make a quick break?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Let's do a quick break. So we are back. We were just talking about the opening of the small hotel that you start working here in Athens in Kolonaki, and how it was the first opening stop already for the first lockdown. Then you opened for some months, and then suddenly the second lockdown came.
Yeah.
I had one question about that. It's just like it sounds a little bit weird when it comes to especially like hotels, restaurants in that sense. Yeah. How did you live that like small months between the first lockdown and the second in that sense? Because I can imagine not a lot of people came either, like from a tourism perspective here.
Yeah, so it was kind of weird because it was, first of all, like an opening after the lockdown, and second of all, it was the hotel opening. It's not like it was a hotel that was already open for years. So we had to manage both things, and we did, so many trainings in terms of sanitary measures and everything. Like, it was not that easy because an hotel opening is already really, really hard, and it was even harder because we had to make sure that the guests were feeling safe. So we had, like obviously like wearing the masks, and like, for example, in my case, like it's a very small boutique hotel. It has 6 rooms, but it's really, really beautiful. It's 6 suites. But every time, that the housekeeper finished cleaning, I have to go myself inside and make sure that everything is clean and everything. We had some people coming every day after the room was cleaned, with these big white uniforms, like totally covered in. And they were coming with some kind of product that they were putting, disinfection, like disinfecting all the room and everything. So I had to go in the room before the disinfection, making sure, that everything was ready for the guests. Okay. Yeah. It was a very multitasking job because obviously when you have a so small hotel, whatever job you do, you're going to multitask. I was serving breakfast and doing receptions and reservations and everything. And so I would go inside the rooms with gloves and, these shoe covers, to make sure that I was not, bringing any germs or whatever, and the mask. We had a difficult, beginning of the season. There were not many people at first, but because it was only 6 rooms, we ended up having a good occupancy rate at the end of the day. But that's because it was only 6 suites. It's a quite expensive place to stay. We had very, very, very nice guests. But yeah, it was weird also for us, being closed in our houses, for 2 months and a half, and then going back to work. And it's not like we had to go back to work and let's see what happens. We had to go 100, 200%. But it was a very good, a good place to work. Some guests were worried about the sanitary measures. Some others, we had to tell them, you have to wear the mask. Like, it's really hard. You have to break their balls, to wear the masks or whatever. And that's not my job. Like, it's like these people now that they check in the shops that you have your QR code. And you can see that these people, this is not what they want to do. And this is not what I wanted to do, but I had to do it because
they are in a rotation of doing it.
And you need to make your guests feel safe, even if they care or they don't. It became, on top of everything, like something super important for the guests.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, eventually, yes, you see it right now. So I think this is something that a lot of guests might not have seen, actually. Here in Greece, the COVID pass has been something mandatory not only for bars and restaurants, but also for entering shops.
Any shops, yeah.
Which in other countries, I know that it has been for supermarkets, for example, for entering supermarkets, but not for other shops, which is also a little bit
nonsense.
Strange.
Yeah.
For other countries, majority of countries has only been when you sit in a table, especially inside, then they ask for the COVID pass. But here in Greece, of course, a lot of people working on shops and hotels and on a lot of other places were they needed to ask for this,
Yeah.
for this specific COVID pass, or for whatever people who were working before on the desk, on the cashier, for example.
Yeah.
No, suddenly they were scanning COVID passes in front of the of the door. And dealing with situations most of the times, I don't know, in your hotel, maybe it was so small and the people comes already with a book room, so you more or less they know that they need, but most probably you already had situations in there also. But I can imagine that, I don't know, you work in Zara or in Decathlon or whatever shops or Intersport, and suddenly people trying to enter without whatever because they want to avoid to have the COVID test, and all these kind of situations are something that.
It's totally new. Yeah, it's totally new to people.
And you're not getting paid for it. You're getting the same salary, and it's an extra job. It means an extra effort from a worker perspective. So yes.
And sometimes they have even to, like, big shops. I'm talking about IKEA, for example. Like, they have to hire someone just there at the entrance just to check that they have the QR code. But back then when we reopened, nobody was vaccinated. The vaccine didn't exist back then. So as the staff of the hotel, we had to get tested every week.
Okay.
So we had someone from a clinic coming every week and getting us tested and everything. So, I mean, it was really heavy, but it was needed, I guess.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we went through the summer. It was a very good summer. Hard work. And Athens in the summer is really, really hot. So, you have to also, go through that. Yeah. And then in the end of October, I actually catch COVID myself. So I stayed home, and by the moment I was out of the quarantine, that was 2 weeks, the country was already in lockdown again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the lockdown, the second one, was incredible. I was not here, but as far as I know, it was incredibly hardcore. It was extremely strict. And really long in here.
Yeah, it was really, really long. It lasts 6 months in total. They tried at some points to reopen shops, but because there were like lines of people waiting outside, and there was a rise in cases, and so they reopened shops like for 2 weeks, and then not even restaurants, not just shops, and then they closed again. So in total, it was 6 months, and you had to have like paper that explains why you go out. And I have a dog myself, so I had to make a paper every day that I was bringing my dog outside for a walk for 3 times per day, and every time making a paper. If you have a Greek number, you were able to send a message, and so just sending a message to a specific number, and then you were showing the SMS to the police in case
I've been registered to
case
go.
yeah, like I'm allowing myself to go out, which was crazy, but yeah, anyway.
Did it happen? The police stopped you? Because I know some people, but I know mainly the expat version of it. Like police stopping. Oh, you are not from here. They say, okay, you can go.
Yes, I mean, for me, I guess it was this kind of weird thing. Like, okay, it's just a girl just walking her dog, so I'm not gonna check her. So nobody ever checked if I had the paper or whatever. But at the beginning, it was something like, okay, I have to have my paper. And then after 3-4 months, I was like, okay, whatever. I was taking the same paper. I was, changing the date or the hour and whatever. But yeah, I remember the one thing.
Alert police in here.
And the police.
If any police officer is listening to this, she's called Catherine, not Charlotte. She was not doing that.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't mind, and I'm actually gonna be totally honest with you. I don't know how it has been in the other countries, but I really didn't like the attitude of the police officers in Greece. They were acting like, this kind of, I have a power now. And they were the only ones, allowed, to, go around freely. And I guess it's their job, and I get it, and I totally respect what they do. But many of them, I saw them like almost taking advantage of the fact that they were getting this power, and so they were looking at you in a way that be careful, I'm checking on you, and it's something I didn't really appreciate, while I was in Greece. But
yeah, I mean, typical overpower of I have a pistol and a badge, and then I have more rights than you. Eventually, I think it might be even harder when they were probably one of the only sectors allowed to go out,
Yeah.
you know, in that sense.
Yeah.
And eventually, well, people needed to go to the supermarket anyway.
Yeah.
People needed to walk their dogs.
Yeah.
People needed to at least get their food because
Yes.
because this is what it is. And eventually, yes, I mean, if that has been so hard, that will be justified if the police here in Greece will have a rate of vaccination better than the one that they have right now.
Yes.
Which is bullshit, to be
Yeah.
honest. And it's just strange for me, like eventually when you see, because here in Greece, which is something we can talk about it, I mean, it's seen on the streets, you see a lot of police, a lot of police. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know, I crossed through Syntagma, I crossed to the presidential palace, and I try to avoid these guys because they have a ratio of 60% of vaccinated people inside of the police, which is the people that you should trust on asking directions or whatever. And it's just like, okay, guys, well,
Yeah,
you know?
better don't get me started on the police here in Greece, because I mean I might say something that I might regret. But in general, like, it's so funny because I feel that, you know, I've lived in other countries where criminality is higher, much higher than here. I feel so safe in Greece, in Athens. And, you know, as a woman, you know, when you live, for example, in Paris, you know, I've been followed until my house. Like, so there's also one night that I was coming home after a party with a friend, and there's this kind of gang of people that stopped and wanted to steal our stuff, and they put me on the floor, took my bag. Like, it was heavy. I'm not saying that it's always like that in Paris, but like in 3 years in Athens, I haven't felt one moment not safe.
Really?
I feel extremely safe, but it's not thanks to the police. I mean, I must say that. Like, I'm not saying they're not doing their job. They're definitely doing their job, but I feel they're taking themselves way too seriously for what is actually happening here. Because it's all good, you know, and they're acting a little bit like, okay, like, I'm here, I'm the power, and taking themselves a bit seriously, and I find it a bit kind of funny. I respect anyone's job. I'm obviously not talking about all of them. That's not the point of what I'm saying. But definitely during the lockdown, there was even one time that I was walking my dog, and these police officers, like, I was in the square, because so in Athens it's really cute because in every neighborhood is built around a square, like or different, you know, many squares. And I was walking my dog and I was crossing the square, and so, you know, like, I was in my PJs, like, whatever, and whatever I was wearing doesn't count. Like, and there is this police that starts to go around me with their motorbikes. And probably they understood that I was not Greek from the way I look or whatever. And I started to hear some kind of insults from them in Greek, which I could understand. And I found that, like, and it happened twice. And I found that, like, so unacceptable. Like, you're the guys that you're supposed to make this place feel safe. And they insulted me. They said whore and bitch to me while I was just walking my dog. And that's totally not fine. But anyway.
Probably with the idea that you will not understand them because they saw you and they understood that most probably you will not understand them. Or that was the thought that they were having in their minds, which can lead to one of the biggest problem of this country, and it's the masculinism inherent into this country itself.
It's true.
Which shocks quite a lot with what you were saying eventually with feeling safe in the streets as a woman, which is something that I definitely wanted to ask you at some point.
But isn't it crazy that I feel safe as a woman, but the only few times that I didn't feel safe was because of the police? Like,
well,
I mean,
I don't know if it's that strange eventually, but but you know, I mean, these kind of micro-masculisms, and I think in this country we see them a lot. Eventually in Greece, you still feel a lot of things in terms of, like, I don't know, comments and small
it's
details.
a bit macho. But, you know, while being a bit macho, It's very weird because it's contradictory, but while being a bit macho, I feel there is most of the time a lot of respect, for the people. Like, I feel really respected as a person. I'm not saying as a woman, but as a person, in general, people are really respected for who they are. Like, people will not come in the street and just start harassing you for whatever thing. Like, if they will come to talk to you, okay, maybe it's like, okay, I'm the man and I'm coming to talk to this girl and everything, but it's done in a way that it's understandable, and the moment that I say no, this person goes away. While in Paris, for example, so many times I've said no, and apparently this is a word that they don't understand, and they keep coming at me, you know. So it's a bit contradictory. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to ask you the perspective of a woman actually living in Athens and living in 3 countries as you have lived, besides your homeland, which is France itself. But yeah, I think eventually that englobes a kind of dichotomy, no? In that sense, like people or society itself, it's a little bit binded, and I think I don't know, at least how I see it sometimes, some of the behaviors or some of the things that happens in Athens looks like that you are 20 years ago.
Oh, yes.
Back.
That's always what I say, 20 years ago for sure. Yes. Yeah.
And then suddenly they are more respectful than people
exactly
in other places.
I agree with you. Yeah. This is why it's contradictory. And I mean, you understand that, totally what I'm trying to say. Like, for example, in terms of administration, it was like, oh my God, in the beginning,
really
like, go to this office with these papers, and then you go to that office and you need other papers, and to go to another office or whatever. But then, in general, like, you feel safe and you feel respected as a person, and people are really chill. Like, what I love about Greece is people are so chill. Like, it was a bit hard for me to get used to at the beginning, because I like to organize stuff and to have everything, planned ahead, and it doesn't work in Greece. It's everything last minute. But they have this thing that enjoying life is number one. They went through an economical crisis that when you get to speak with Greek people, you understand that it was really, really hard. Like, some people were like head of marketing or whatever, and they had to say, okay, I'm going to go back to my village and I'm going to, make olive oil, because that's the only choice that I have right now. That's the only possibility that I have. And the fact that they went through something that difficult made them really humble people. They're usually simple people, but you get to have so interesting conversations and very human. I love that. And another thing that I love is that, for example, in France, one of the first questions that people ask you is, what do you do? And obviously these questions means, what job do you have? Which defines you. In Greece, you can spend an entire evening with Greek people. They do not even ask, and they do not even care. And maybe at the end of that night, you don't know what job they do, and they don't know what job you do, but still you had a very good time and very interesting conversations and everything. So I guess I like that. Like, my job is something that's really important for me, but in a sense, like, I like that it's not the only thing that defines me.
Definitely. I mean, I couldn't put it better, actually. Like, it's a nice thing, and then suddenly a car with speakers asking for metal and electrodomestics passes by you, and you are back. Like, I don't know, I remember that from my hometown when I was 5 years old, that they were picking up the mattresses and this kind of stuff. These things happens in Athens still, and suddenly you are like, what the fuck?
Yeah, actually, that summer that I was in Peloponnese, it was so nice because, I was staying in a very small village close to the sea. And in the morning, there was this truck selling bread. And so you would hear him, with the...
honking.
Yeah, with the honking and like, okay, I'm selling bread. And then there was this guy going around like screaming, "Karpouzi, karpouzi," which means watermelon. And so there is this truck selling only watermelon. Like, where do you see that? And you're like, you're in Europe, but there is this truck guy that sells only watermelon. Yes. And that's amazing. And everybody goes out of their house because they know that they're going to serve watermelon whatever happens. it's so hot that you want to serve only watermelon, by the way. And so yeah, that's I guess you enjoy the contrast. It's not easy at first, as I was telling you. Like after 3 years, I can say that the first part of my experience in Greece was not easy because it was hard to adapt. But once you get to the point that you really understand the people, you understand the secrets of the city, you understand like where you can really have a good time, and most of the time it's kind of hidden. So as an expat, it's not that simple to find, but once you found them, like, and obviously like so I'm still with my boyfriend, you know, the Greek guy that I told you about from Peloponnese, Yorgos, like half of
wow.
Greece.
No. It's called Yorgos. Wow,
very
incredible.
original name. and he's helped obviously through that, you know, to go more local and understand like what are the cool things that you can do in a city like Athens.
Do you think, I mean, that's maybe coming from my personal experience here and eventually in other cities where I've been living, there is, I don't know, these Facebook groups or these events, and when you search for events, there is a lot of English events going on, and Athens doesn't have that because the community of expats is there, but it's more like neighborhood based or whatever, and you end meeting. Of course, we know each other from an expat group that created something outside of Facebook somehow for technological people, whatever. So it was a little bit more specific in that sense, but it's not easy, at least from what I saw, that you come to this city and then suddenly, I don't know, when I arrived first in Frankfurt, I could directly search for theater in English, for example. And Athens being 8 times bigger than Frankfurt in that sense, doesn't offer that. There is a lot of cultural things going on, but in Greek, for Greek people. It's
true.
And that, I think, it will start changing now that a lot of expats are coming, and I think it will happen. I don't know if it's good or bad, to be honest. I really like also that you can hang out with, I mean, I love hanging out with Greek people in this sense, but it's more difficult than other places where I've lived. I don't know if you had the same feeling in terms of events that are not only related to, I don't know, I already have my boyfriend here and I have my group of friends. I don't know, I want to go to the cinema. It's different because they only put the original versions of the cinema.
Yes, that's a
easy
good thing.
But going to theater, I haven't been to the theater here.
Yeah, I think I started looking a bit online for theater things, and you can find it, but it's like once in a while. Like it's not that easy to find. In terms of community, yeah, you're right. Like there is this expat group on Facebook, and then like now this tech freak group that we met through. I don't know. Myself is not something that I'm really looking for because I like, you know, to be more with the locals. But after a while, you understand that you need to be with people that feel more like home. Not that, I mean, obviously I chose Greece and I love Greeks and whatever, but after a while, you need, you know, to have, you know, someone that, you know, you can relate to more in terms of the culture and the background or whatever. Like,
or speaking your language, either like, for not losing it. I don't know.
So I got lucky because actually my boyfriend has a friend that met a French girl, and we actually became super friends. Her name is Angélique, and we became super friends. And the moment we met, we realized that we are from exactly the same town, close to Paris, and that was like a fucking coincidence. But it got so funny, and it's true that in terms of my social life, being friends with Greeks and everything has been like amazing. Like I enjoy spending time with Greek people. But having, you know, even this one friend that is, you know, she's also French. She's from the same place as I am, same background, same everything. Like, obviously, she's the kind of person that I can call at 3 a.m. having a problem, and she will show up. You know, that's why I'm saying. So I understand the need of being with expats for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's more like, I mean, in Frankfurt, I had my best friend from Barcelona was coming after me, just joining the same company. So I was speaking Catalan, for example, in that sense. Now here, I haven't speak Catalan. Yes, I have. In the group, there is a Greek girl who speaks Catalan who was breaking my mind absolutely, like, wow. And she speaks really, really, really good Catalan. And then I met one girl who is from Valencia, and we speak a little bit of Catalan, but we are in the same co-working space. So eventually, I mean, we see each other and from time to time, but it's not someone who you develop a conversation. So for example, I miss sometimes speaking my own language. And that makes a difference for me.
Yeah, it does. And you know, speaking your mother tongue is important also to feel more like home. Totally. I love languages and whatever, but you know, like when I meet with Angelique, or even now with another friend of mine, Marine, who moved from France to Greece, when we meet, it's like I feel that I breathe a little bit, and I'm like, okay, right now, I feel that I can be totally myself. Not that I cannot be totally myself with Greeks, but I feel that there are so many subjects that they love to talk about that maybe I don't so much, and there are some subjects that I love to talk about and maybe they don't love so much. So yeah, I guess it's part of the experience of living abroad. And once you make this choice, you cannot complain about it. And I'm totally not complaining about it. I'm just figuring out, you know, the best way of living in Athens while not being Greek.
You just mentioned some minutes ago bureaucratics, administration. I think that's the typical thing that every expat hates from absolutely every country somehow. There is anything else in Greece that you have felt like this is something that I really had a pain with, and I really didn't like how it is in Athens or in Peloponnese when you were there, in that sense?
Yes, there is one thing that for me is hard. For example, like me, I'm really a person of my word. Like if I say something, I will do it. Or sometimes I will even do things that I didn't even talked about before. While Greeks, they will always tell you, okay, not always, again, I'm not talking about all Greeks, but like in general, they will tell you what you want to hear. But then in terms of the actions and what really happens, there is a huge gap between what they say and the action and what really happens. And for me, it's kind of frustrating. And I believe it's totally cultural. And I don't hold anything against them for that. But like sometimes it's heavy. Sometimes it's heavy. It's like blah blah, you know, like
and then nothing.
I'm telling you whatever you want to hear, and then you can wait forever and ever and ever, and then it's probably never gonna happen.
I mean, definitely. Again, generalizing and everything. There is Greek people who are absolutely the opposite on that, but I completely agree with that. There is a lot of promising things to make you happy in the moment that you are in front of them, just in terms of, yes, you ask for something and they will, I will do that, yes. And then it passes 4 weeks and you remind him, and then they always say, I forgot. And then it's just like again, and they forgot again. And it's just like, totally agree. Actually, we are coming to the kind of end of the episode. There is one big topic that we need to talk about, actually, which involves the two of us. Let's do first, I would say I always ask 2 questions at the end of the podcast. One is recommendations, which is mainly what you can say to people who is willing to come to Greece or it's willing to move to Mexico or Italy, the countries that you have been, what you would recommend as big words, let's say like this, if you move to this country, be aware of that, or so if you have any recommendations in that sense.
Okay, I would say don't have a lot of expectations in terms of administrations, for sure. That is for sure. And I would tell them to try to connect as fast as possible with expat communities. This is something I didn't do. Because I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to say, like, as I was telling you, like, get in touch with locals and make sure that that you totally bond with the country or whatever. It's amazing to do, but if you can actually get in touch with expats and to understand like what they've been through themselves, at the beginning of their Greek experience, I think that's one of the first thing I would do. So through Facebook, like the expat, I think it's Expat in Athens. There is also like for French-speaking people, there is a community of French-speaking people, and now there is this if you're in tech, there is this Athens Freaks Discord community that also helps a lot, in these cases. So I would say, that's one of my recommendations, definitely. Yeah.
Cool. So, coming to the last topic of the night. Normally here I ask if the person has personal recommendations, if you have any personal project that you want to promote and friends-wise, I always give you the space. At some point of time, we need to talk about Uncut and what is going on around here. So let's start. Do you have any personal one, any project of friends or yourself that you want to use this? If not, we jump directly.
No, I think we can jump to Uncut directly. Okay. That's fine. Yeah.
So, for the audience to understand what is going on around here, we haven't said that, but Charlotte here started being a UX UI designer after the second quarantine, which is something that we didn't talk about. Yeah. And eventually you are the 8th or 9th UX UI designer that passes through this podcast. And this is more about design than being experts at this point of time.
But that's good. I mean, we ended up not talking about UX design at all in this episode.
Yes, definitely. We never talk about UX UI design eventually. But so Charlotte is working with a really interesting project for podcasters, actually. And this project, this company, it's called Uncut.
Uncut.fm, yeah.
Uncut, the website it's literally uncut.fm.
Yeah.
And eventually, I suppose you can explain it better than I do, but what are you trying? It's to bring a different kind of monetization to podcasts through Web3, which for the people who are not that techie, it's involving blockchain and cryptocurrencies. And what you are offering, it's mainly NFTs out of parts or complete episodes of a podcast itself.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm missing something in there.
So actually, Uncut has been quite of an adventure for me. As you've said, during the second lockdown, I was like, okay, what's happening to hospitality and tourism? I was like, that's the safest job I could ever get. And then COVID happened, and you're like, okay, maybe that's not safe anymore. And because I am not the kind of person that I enjoy being lazy and doing nothing, I took an online class in web design, and I ended up finding this internship at Uncut in last June. And I'm still with them, working in UX UI, and the company has gone through different. How would I say, different visions and trying to find the right path, but always thinking how we can help podcasters. Because one of the biggest problem of podcasters is how to monetize. And monetization is really an issue because, now, most podcasters, unless they use advertising, it's something that they do on the side. And for example, for you, it's something that you do as a hobby for fun, but, maybe one day you want to spend more time on that and actually monetize from it because it's taking your time and your energy. And the base of all of this is the passion economy, the creator economy. What if actually I do something as my job that I'm totally passionate about and I can actually monetize from that? So through the past 10 months, we actually ended up meeting because we do some remote, we work totally remote, all of us. And then we met for our first retreat. So we met all of us in Greece, actually, in the south of Peloponnese. And this is when the idea of Web3 came up. So we came up with this idea, like, how can we, merge, this new trend of Web3 and together with the podcasting area. And so, like, okay, maybe that could be an amazing idea, for podcasters to monetize and for listeners to actually support the podcasters, because slowly people are starting to believe that, there are a lot of artists that I'm enjoying from them, music, podcast, whatever, but do they get something from it? No, and that's not fair. And it can actually lead to burnout. Like, we spoke to many podcasters that they're like, oh my God, like I'm doing all of this, but what do I get from it? And so what we're doing right now is that we're offering the possibility for podcasters to create NFTs, which for people who don't know is non-fungible token. So it's a digital asset that is actually written on the blockchain. So it's a bit technical. I'm not going to go into the technical aspect of it. But by buying an NFT that is actually attached to a piece of audio, you can actually support your podcaster. But not only, like, you will buy it in crypto, but not only can you support the podcaster, you can also get some benefits attached to it. And so right now we're totally keeping an open mind. We're talking with podcasters and trying to understand, like, what are the types of benefits that you want to attach to your NFT. And for example, there is this one podcast that wants to have some kind of a private conversation, a private community, that the podcaster, together with its audience, with its community that invested in the NFTs, can have a private conversation. So how many people that now are listening to this podcast, how many podcasts do you listen to that you would actually love to be in touch directly with the podcaster? So this is something that would be kind of a benefit that you get from it. So yeah, I guess it's a really good thing. It's a bet. Web3 is a bet, but like, monetizing is possible through advertising, through so many things, but advertising can be annoying, both for the podcaster and for the audience. So maybe through Web3 and through taking really ownership, because this is what Web3 is about, like, both podcasters and listeners can actually find a way, to be both really happy with both monetizing and actually supporting, who they like to listen to.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. I mean, eventually today's podcast episode was an introduction of saying that the Ausländer will be available through Uncut FM also. What, from my perspective as guest, as a owner of the podcast itself and the guests who are passing through here, it will be that eventually I want to transform this into something that I want people to be involved in listeners who are actively listening to all these episodes that I already recorded and the much more episodes that will come to be part of it. And eventually just check out. I will keep everyone posted. I think it's more like a kind of collectible thing. In my case, it will be more like a limited edition thing of NFT. Yes. So there will be some copies of some of the episodes that the guests wants to be involved. Me personally want to be outside there as an NFT. And eventually you can come to Uncut FM through their platform, collect my episodes, be involved with them. One thing that it will be for sure, and that as reward for the people who wants to collect our podcast, will be a meeting for the episode which would be the benefit.
That would be the benefit attached to the NFT, like meeting with both you and whoever guest is with you.
Yeah. Exactly. So eventually, for example, today's episode with Charlotte will be published into Uncut FM and will be an NFT itself. The whole episode, it will have some benefits, but the biggest benefit on that will be to be able to have a call with us, If you are eventually in Athens, maybe we can meet in person.
Yeah.
If you are not, we will try to find a spot and do a video call or whatever. And you can ask as many things as you want. So I think it's really interesting that finally some of the listeners of the podcast can ask more personal things. If you are thinking about coming to Greece, if you are thinking to go to Mexico, if you are thinking to go to Italy, Charlotte is here for responding some questions. I'm here for responding some questions, even if it's just about the podcast itself, how it's done, about our personal life, meeting each other. So I'm really happy that this connection has happened and that eventually the Ausländer will be available in Uncut FM. So definitely check it out. I will keep everyone posted and there will be beside Charlotte episodes, a couple or 3 more episodes going out soon.
And I think, that's really good because the whole point of what we're doing is making sure that the podcaster can actually connect with their community. And your community maybe doesn't mean all your audience, but the people that are actually fans of your show and they want to get more involved with your show. And that would totally be the case with what you're telling right now.
Definitely. So I think today we wanted to make a personal recommendation for the guest, which was coming from both sides. It's interest of the podcast. It's also interest from Uncut FM here. Charlotte representing it a little bit as a UX UI designer inside of the company. Charlotte, it has been a pleasure to record an episode with you.
It's been great. Thank you.
Thank
you for the Aperol Spritz because that was the drink I got offered today.
Yes. Oh, we didn't say that, but yes, we were drinking Aperol Spritz tonight. So thank you and cheers.
Thank you. It has been a great honor to be on your podcast.